in our country, in Germany at least, there's a lot of interreligious group who try to value the other religion and just not to pinpoint on the historical dimension only. And they regularly meet and try to find some commonness, even some spiritual commonness behind it.
Yes, so that's very good. So, this is a good point. My comparison is not a comparison of a brand name called Hinduism and a brand name called Christianity, but a philosophical position called embodied knowing in Adhyatma Vidya and another philosophical position called history centrism. Now, a lot of Hindus may be history centric too, many are, and a lot of Christians may be ahistorical and not interested in history centrism. So I'm looking at what are the criteria, philosophical criteria, for becoming free of conflict and violence. And if a person from any tradition, any background, says that I want to find that in my own tradition, I want to reinterpret my own tradition, it's not for an outsider like me to impose it. But if an insider, like you are mentioning, if a Christian wants to reimagine Jesus and completely reject what the church has been teaching, that's wonderful. So I think when there are those kind of conferences, I'd love to participate and see how real they are, how committed they are, and what is their chance of success. Because such things have been tried and failed. Like the Romantic movement in the 1700s was a movement towards India. All these people, Voltaire, all these sort of guys. In fact, my interest in the U-turn started in Auroville, because I was giving a talk. And my talk was on how Indian traditions are not taught in the West. And that was an article that is still in the Auroville journal or something somebody wrote. I give a talk. And one Frenchman in the audience triggered my interest because he asked a question I didn't know the answer to. He said, there was a time when people like Voltaire really appreciated Indian culture. There was a romance for Indian culture. So what happened to that? Why did it go away? What made it go away? Why isn't it there today? That made me think. That's what brought out more research to see. There was an era called the Romantic era, which meant romance for the East. Why did it go away? How come it did not sustain? Because the history centrism and Western centrism and Eurocentrism took that, digested that movement, brought it back into Western control with people like Hegel. Hegel had a debate with the Romantics. It's well known. Hegel and the Romantics argued using India but on opposite sides. The Romantics lost. They just phased out. So similarly, in the 60s, there was a period in the United States when people thought that the old, capital structure and powerful religion and all that will be gone. And I'm glad there is a thriving product of that. But what happened to all the other guys who were in the 60s? They're all Wall Street investment bankers. Some of them U-turned back into church seminaries and working in churches. You know that. There's plenty of church people who were part of that movement. So the West has a history of alternating. It flirts with this romance, with what I call stage 2, where there are no boundaries and everything is fine. But somehow it doesn't last. Somehow that gets digested back into the belly of the aggression. And even the period of the Theosophists, and before that the Transcendentalists in America, like Emerson, those were periods when certain group of Americans were like New Age kind of people. But where are they now? Where is the Transcendentalist movement? It's gone. So I know that these movements exist. I think it's very nice that they exist and I encourage them. But I think until we have identified what must go, if we say, okay, history centrism is a cause of issues and problems, then, we've identified it. And so one of the things you could do is go back to that group and explain to them certain things they should eliminate because there are the blockages that come in the way.